Hey guys, it's Roll Advantage. I am Dakota. I'll be your DM. Don your armor, pick up your swords and shields, and follow me into battle as we go and talk about fighters in this video. So, fighters are your usual prowess, martial prowess people that are all about physical stats. They can pick up any armor, any weapon, any shield, and just go right into battle. You just point a direction and you send them there. They're going to slaughter everything in their way. So for this, they don't really deal with magic except for one archetype, which I'll talk about later. But they start off with 1d10 hit die. So they've got pretty nice health. They're proficient with all armor and all shields. They are proficient with all weapons also. They don't start off with any tool proficiencies, which they don't really need to. They are the usual knights, or we'll talk about stuff later, but they aren't just all about melee weapons either. We'll get onto that. Saving throws are strength and constitution. They start off with a few skills, only two. All of them are just strength or dexterity based, but there are some wisdom, such as survival and perception. They start off with either chainmail or leather, longbow, and 20 arrows. They also get to choose a martial weapon and a shield, or two martial weapons. They get a light crossbow and 20 bolts, or two hand axes, and they get either a dungeoneer's pack or an explorer's pack. Right off the bat, you can tell that they're fully loaded with a bunch of different stuff for different builds. So if you want the classic sword and shield, you can go for it. If you want like a pike or a great axe or like a big heavy two-handed weapon, they can definitely do that. Hell, they can even just take off the heavy armor and leave it behind and just put on light armor and be very dexterous. So you can have dexterity or strength builds for this. So at first level, they have a fighting style, and they have the most options for the fighting styles. But depending on which archetype you actually follow with, you get another fighting style, which is the only class that gets more than one fighting style in it. Also at level 1, you have Second Wind, so you can regain health as a bonus action. So you roll a 1d10 and then add your fighter level to it, and that's how much health you can actually recover. You cannot do it again until you finish a short or long rest. At level 2, you also have Action Surge. So basically, you can do this once per long rest and do an additional main action. So if you want to dash or if you want to attack, you can take the attack action again, and you can only do this once per long rest. You can do that additionally at different levels. So I believe you can do it twice at level 11 and 3 times at level 17. So also at level 2, you have Action Surge. What this lets you do is it lets you take a main action again. So if you want that additional attack action, you can throw that right in there, but you can only do that once per long rest. Once you hit level 17, you can do it again. At level 3, you have your martial archetypes, and so you can choose between the Champion, the Battle Master, or the Eldritch Knight, which I'll explain later on down below as we go on in the video. But basically, your Champion is your fighter's fighter, very physical prowess, all about fighting. The Battle Master is all about like warlords, how they plan out a battle, and they're very tactical. Eldritch Knights, they actually start dabbling in magic. At level 4, and then also at 6, 8, 12, 14, 16, and 19, you have your ability score improvements. Fighters have the most ability score improvements out of all of these. At level 5, you get an extra attack, so you can attack twice per turn. Also at level 11, you can attack 3 times with the attack action, and then at level 20, you can attack 4 times with the attack action, and this is the only class that can do that. So at level 9, you have Indomitable. And so whenever you do a saving throw and you fail it, you can actually re-roll it and take the second roll, even if it's lower than your first one. At level 13 and 17, you can do it additional times. So at level 13, you can do it twice. Level 17, you can do it 3 times. And this is all before a long rest. So now we're going to talk about the archetypes. So I'm going to start off with the Champion. Like I said, it's your fighter's fighter. It's very physical based, all about fighting. I mean, they are a fighter, but think of them like gladiators or knights or something like that. They are physically raw and they pride themselves on their strength. So at level 3, when you take this, you get improved critical. So now if you roll your 20-sided die to attack someone, if you roll a 19 or a 20 before any additional modifiers, that becomes a critical hit instead of the natural 20. At level 17, you have Remarkable Athlete, and so if you have a skill check that is either strength, dexterity, or constitution based, but you don't have proficiency with that skill, you can actually add half of your proficiency bonus to that. In addition, you can also do a running long jump, and the distance covered is equal to your strength modifier as an addition. So I believe it's originally 3 times your strength modifier for a distance for a long jump, but now it would technically be 4 times your strength modifier. At level 10, you have the additional fighting style. Like I said, this is the only archetype that has the additional fighting style. So even if you multi-classed into like Paladin and Ranger, say you're a Paladin Ranger build, I don't know why, but you are, even though both of those have choices for fighting styles, once you get to that second class that allows a fighting style, you can't take it. This is the only class that lets you do that. At level 15, you have Superior Critical, so now your critical hit range with that d20 is 18 to 20 instead of 19 and 20. Also, and lastly, Survivor at 18th level. So at the start of each of your turns, if you are below half of your maximum health, you recover 5 plus your Constitution modifier in health each turn. Next, we're going to talk about the Battle Master, and like I said, this is the tactician, this is the warlord, able to command people and are all about maneuvers and trying to get the upper edge on the battlefield with others. So you've got your combat superiority, and what that lets you do at level 3 is you learn a handful of maneuvers. I believe it's 3 maneuvers, and all the maneuvers do something depending on what you choose. So there's also superiority dice, and you start off with 4 superiority dice, which are d8s, and so whenever you attempt one of these maneuvers, you roll that d8 and then you add it to whatever you're trying to do. Once you expend all of these, you don't recover them until a long or short rest. And then also you have saving throws, so some of your maneuvers require them to save against something else, such as like trying to trip them or disarm them. And that would be equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus either strength or dexterity as the modifier, and it's up to your choice. Also at level 3 you have Student of War, so you get proficiency with any type of artisan tool of your choice. Also at level 7 you have Know Your Enemy, so if you take a minute to try and study your enemy before actually engaging them in combat, you can learn up to 2 things, and it could be their strength or dexterity or constitution modifiers, or their scores, my bad. You can know if they have any fighter levels and how many. You can know their armor class, their current hit points, things like that. So you could spy at them with a telescope and just study them for about a minute before charging into war. And this is more like, again, your tactician learning the battlefield. So like back in the days where there was generals in the Civil War, they would try and study their army and their foe to try and get the upper hand on them, to know them better and know where to go to position themselves. So at level 10, your superiority dice turn into d10s, and then at level 18 they turn into d12s, and that's what you're adding to your maneuvers. And then at level 15 you get Relentless. So when you roll initiative and you don't have any superiority dice, you recover 1 of them. I'm not really going to talk much about the maneuvers. There's different things such as tripping or sweeping them. You can rally your people with you to benefit them and get them temporary hit points, but there's a long list. I'm not going to go over it today. If you like, you can check it out in the player's handbook. So the Eldritch Knight is a fighter that's picked up some spells to enhance their combat efficiency. Some of you might know this as a Gish, which I can talk about later in a different topic, but basically it's the mixture of a fighter and a spellcaster, and they use a lot of abjuration and evocation magic. Abjuration deals with protection in battle, where evocation is a lot of damage, like fireballs and cold touch or chill touch. My bad. So they're dealing damage with that. So you do get spellcasting at level 3, and these guys are 3rd level spellcasters, or 1/3 spellcasters. So they're going to max out at 4th level spells, and they get a handful of cantrips. So at level 3, they start off with 2 cantrips that they know. Once they hit level 10, they're going to learn an additional cantrip, and all of their spells is based off the wizard spell list, which is one of the largest. Also, along with their spellcasting, it's all based off of their intelligence modifier, so you might want to keep that in line when you're actually planning on building one of these Eldritch Knights. At level 3 also, you have Weapon Bond, so you can learn a ritual to bond your weapon to you and teleport it to you if it's on the same plane of existence, and while you hold it, you cannot be disarmed of it unless you're incapacitated, which of course, if your character does survive and they wake up, then they can just teleport it back to them. You can do this up to 2 different weapons though. So at level 7 you have War Magic. When you use your action to cast a cantrip, you can do a bonus action to make 1 weapon attack. And then also at level 10 you have Eldritch Strike. So whenever you hit a creature with one of your weapon attacks, that same creature has disadvantage on the next saving throw before the end of your next turn. At level 15 you have Arcane Charge. So when you do an action surge, you can teleport up to 30 feet to any space that's open before or after you use the arcane or the action surge. So if you hit someone a few times, level 15 you should have 3 attacks, I believe, with the attack action. So you hit them 3 times, you action surge, so right before you do that you teleport right behind them, cast maybe Green Flame Blade to hit them, and then as a bonus action, since you casted a War Magic type cantrip, you can attack them again. So that's 5 hits right there. That's going to knock someone on their butt. And you're also dealing a lot of splash damage and area of effect damage because Green Flame Blade targets other creatures around you too. Lastly, you have Improved War Magic. So at level 18, it is just like the War Magic, except this time it's whenever you cast a normal spell. So it doesn't have to be a cantrip, anything that uses a spell slot, you can do that weapon attack as a bonus action. So there you have it, guys. That's the fighter in a nutshell. Pretty easy, simple. I always recommend it to new players that haven't played D&D before, which if you haven't played D&D before, I don't know what you're doing with your life. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope I led you carefully through the battle unharmed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.